Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jack with SGTV. To any returning viewers, thank you for your continued support. We've been seeing a lot of growth on the channel, and Spy and myself we would like to convey our deep gratitude for the support for what we're doing here. If you're new to the channel, Spy Pie Gaming highlights video games, industry news, and events surrounding the gaming community. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Make sure you turn the bell icon on. That way you are notified anytime we release new videos. Our schedule currently is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes we slide in some surprises Tuesdays and Thursdays. Currently, we are focusing predominantly on a game that Spy and myself get a lot of enjoyment out of, which is Elder Scrolls Online, otherwise known as ESO. So anyway, to get into the video today, we are doing a series of videos where we run through the different dungeons in ESO and kind of explain, the mechanics and everything, show everyone what to expect. We run through these on normal currently. That way it's not, the combat and everything's not so intense as it is in Veteran, and we can take time and discuss what exactly is going on. That way you can prepare for the harder content later. The last video we did was Darkshade Caverns 1. Today's video is going to be Darkshade Caverns 2. Now, there are, I say this every time, but just in case you don't know, or this is the first video you've come across, there are a couple of ways to go about entering one of the dungeons in ESO. So, to begin with, this particular dungeon is in Deshaan, in the southeast area, right here. The closest way shrine is the Silent Mire way shrine. The ways that you can go about getting into one of these dungeons is you can do what I've done here and just walk up to the door. The other ways are you can go into the dungeon finder. You may queue into it through your random daily. You can also go to specific dungeons and select the dungeon you want to queue into and just hit join queue. The random queue is kind of sketchy it's kind of iffy as far as whether or not you'll actually make it into the dungeon or not. You could pick it up from an Undaunted pledge. You will have to use the specific queue if you plan on running it as a group. The other way, the last way to get into a dungeon, is to go to a way shrine, and you can fast travel into this dungeon. Now, there's a couple of sets, I'll go over these real quick, that drop in this dungeon. You have the Armor of Truth, which is a heavy set. The Armor of Truth adds 618 weapon critical, 1032 max stamina, 121 weapon damage, and the 5-piece bonus: when you deal damage to an enemy who's off balance, your weapon damage is increased by 433 for 10 seconds. It's not a terrible set, but there are other sets out there. We also have Netch's Touch. Spy gets angry with me every time I mention this, and rightfully so. He spent a lot of time in this dungeon trying to get this set down here. Anyway, Netch's Touch is the light set that comes out of this. It is 16. The bonuses from this set are 618 spell crit, 1032 maximum magicka, 121 spell damage, and 377 spell damage to your shock damage abilities. So it's kind of a specialized set. If you're running, lightning staff, stuff like that, you may benefit from this set. And then we also have Strength of the Automaton, which is actually a pretty decent set. Spy runs this set on his Warden. So the Strength of the Automaton set is a medium set. It adds 618 weapon critical, 1032 max stamina, 121 weapon damage, and 377 weapon damage to your physical and bleed damage abilities. So this is also a little bit of a specialized or a special case set, depending on your build. If you have a lot or a good amount of bleed heavy abilities, this is probably a pretty good set for you. Overall, it's a good set anyway, but if you are a bleed heavy build, this is definitely one that I would recommend. So onto the monster sets. This one drops in Darkshade 1. The Engine Guardian set drops in Darkshade 2. The one piece bonus is 124 health recovery. The two piece bonus is whenever you use an ability, you have a 25% chance to summon a Dwemer automation to restore 531 stamina or magicka, or 1887 health to you every half second for 6 seconds. And the effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Overall, not too bad. It's not, I would say it's not for a damage setup. Maybe tanks, more than likely. Healers, definitely, I'll say definitely, we'll just leave it at this. It's definitely a support role monster set for anyone who is having issues with sustain. Now, I'll make sure that I link I'll make sure that all these end up in the description of the video. That way the information is readily available. Alright, so up at the top above the compass, you can see it says Darkshade Caverns 1. That's not exactly the case. Not if you've cleared it. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. One thing that happens whenever you go in is this right here. There are multiple versions of this dungeon. You have to pick which one you want to enter into. So Darkshade 1, Mine All Mine, we covered that in the video from last week. So we will be going into Darkshade Caverns 2, What Was Lost. You will also have to make that decision if you are to fast travel. If you make the decision to fast travel into the dungeon itself, it will present you with the same choice. Now, for anyone who has seen the solo runs that I do in these dungeons, I usually bring the companion just so I don't have to worry about thinking about healing. Not that I'm worried about healing, but something I don't want to have to also manage. Anyhow, alright, let's get into it. You run into a lot of the same mobs as you did in the last dungeon. They're not too terribly bad. Just do what you can, clear them out. Overall, they're really not all that bad. This is a tank build. So I am not made to deal damage, but it just goes to show you that you can, if needs be, clear a dungeon out without dealing a ton of damage. So alright, we are at the first boss. It is the, if I can find him here, be the Fallen Foreman here. Oh, got feared. That's never fun. Something I've mentioned in previous videos. Alright, so something that I mentioned in previous videos is I don't always do the necessary mechanics for the different boss fights. Part of what that is I know that a good amount of stuff in this game can't kill me, not on normal mode anyway. It's not a flex or a brag or anything. It just doesn't. That's where I'm at. That's where my character's at. Finally gotten to. At one point, I did struggle with some of this content, but as you level up and move along, you get a little bit better. All right, so same format as always. We're going to do the fights, and then I will cover the mechanics going on in the fights. So, the Fallen Foreman. Obviously, there are ads at the start of the fight. The boss casts a slow but high damage spell. You want to focus down the ads first. It's a good idea to interrupt the boss's spells. The tank ideally would stay on her while everyone else kills the ads. The boss does a fire cone and rotates, which was something that was visible during that encounter just now. The best way to avoid it is just follow behind it and be running around ahead of it. One of the two, as tank or melee. For anyone else, just stay out of range if you're a ranged character. Anyhow, alright, so let's move on. Wrong button. Sorry. Alright. Ooh, there's a lot of baddies. Let's go ahead and pull them. It'll be alright. One thing I will say, if you're not confident and you want to solo a dungeon, if you're not confident in your ability to sustain the damage that's being output, something you can do is pick up a damage shield And we're going to get this chest, and I'm going to look stupid on video trying to unlock it because I'm not really great at these. Oh, lockpick's broke. Alright, there we go. Anyway. So as I was saying, get you some kind of damage shield and just try to maintain keeping it up. That way it'll help you a little bit. I am currently running Empowered Ward. I know Hardened Ward gives you a bigger shield, but there's a little bit of a benefit. Let's see, where is it at here? The reason I'm running Empowered Ward is it grants minor intellect, increasing magic of recovery by 15%. It's kind of a useful thing to have. Helps out with sustain a little bit. I don't have a lot of people using synergies or abilities that can cause a synergy to proc, so I do what I can to keep up. Because running out of resources is never fun. Where you going, buddy? Come back here. Alright, boss. Okay, Transmuted Hive Lord. Oh my goodness. A lot of times, the worst thing about a boss, whenever you're soloing, is the amount of health he has. Now, if you're built to DPS, you probably don't have much of a problem. I'm not, which is, it's not a huge deal, but a little bit annoying. Time consuming more than anything. Gosh dang, there's a lot of knockdowns in this fight. Yeah, stand in it. I got... got a fly buzzing around my head right now. Little bit annoying. Get up. Keep him in the Thunderous Rage. All right. That was a little annoying. All right. So, Transmuted Hive Lord. This boss has a heavy hit, which knocks you down, and you get to see that several times. If you're the tank, you want to make sure that you block these. There are also, which were visible on screen, 2 ads that fight alongside the boss. They can also knock you unconscious and drain your stamina, which is a tad bit annoying. You have 2 choices in this fight. One, you can ignore the ads, focus on the boss. If the ads knock you down, you can break free. The other choice is to kill the ads, then attack the boss. It may be better to just ignore the ads and just burn everything with AoE. The ads burrow, the boss gets a damage shield that pounds the ground doing AoE damage, which is what you saw when the damage numbers were showing up in brackets. It does not stop until enough damage is done to break the shield. So when that happens, get on damaging the boss so the shield breaks and the boss fight can continue as normal. Alright, moving on. And now we're getting into the Centurions. Go ahead and pull all this, that way we can burn it all down at the same time. If y'all hear me making weird noises, my sinuses are kind of kicking my butt. It's that time of year. Alright. Moving on. Okay, so we're not there yet, but in this next fight, there's a funny little quirk that's not really so funny, but it's not terrible to deal with. Alright. Okay. We're going to get rid of all this trash first. Alright. So, Transmuted Alits. This one has a nice annoying little quirk about it. So if you can, do your best to burn them all at the same time. And I will explain why when I go over the mechanics of the fight. All right. So overall, the encounter is not too hard. It's the first mini boss encounter. So obviously there are 3 Alits which do heavy attacks. Here's the annoying little mechanic that you may or may not realize is going on. When one dies, you must kill the others within a short period of time, or the dead Alit will revive with little HP. That seems like an old mechanic. I can say if you don't kill them all at the same time, the 2 or 1 or however many, the one that dies splits its health among the ones that are remaining. So, fun little annoying mechanic to deal with. It's not too bad, but, you know, if you can avoid it, you want to. So it's always a good idea to have somebody with some AoE in the group. This one's a little bit annoying as well. As you can only damage him at certain times, or damage the boss at certain times. And that right there is what happens when you can damage the boss. So best thing for it, or this particular fight, is to save your ultimate until the boss is vulnerable. That way, when you have the opportunity, you can deal as much damage as possible. This fight is drags on just a little bit. Just a little bit. Trying to get my ultimate built back up. That didn't work. It's okay though. We're gonna make it. And I'm not gonna drop the ultimate even though I have it, because he got back up pretty quick. Alright. I'm gonna try and build my ultimate back up for the next time the boss becomes vulnerable. That way maybe we get a chance of going ahead and getting rid of him. Maybe not, but hey, you know. I have a fly that is literally landing on my face as I'm trying to record this. Extremely annoying. Almost got the ultimate. There we go. Alright. Alright. Almost. Alright. One more go. Do it again. Alright, I'm not going to worry about it this time. I think we can burn him down without it. That's the thing, though. If you're going to solo dungeons, you probably do want to have some kind of an alternative set that balances, some way to balance sustainability and your ability to deal damage, because otherwise you run into this situation, which is not a terrible situation, but it's most definitely not fun. Alright, let's get him. There we go. Okay. Grubull the Transmuted. So the boss teleports and unleashes a hard-hitting AoE. You want to get out of the way of that. The tank cannot do anything to prevent the boss from teleporting to the other players. The boss will be shielded. Several small adds will spawn, as well as some larger ones, which you saw. You should have the tank should pull in the larger mobs, and that way your group can gather in and just burn them down. After the adds are dead, the boss is no longer shielded and drops to the ground, which was the overall mechanic that was happening. The minute this happens, you should just pour everything you have into burning the boss down, and it's probably a good idea if you're running this in a group to have your tank and your healer have a DPS set up on their second bar. At some point, not too long after it falls to the ground, the boss will reshield and continue on. So, I got lost. Actually, I got turned around is what happened. Anyhow, go ahead and move on. Overall, this really isn't too tough of a dungeon. You either need to have a group that's ready for it. Running it in a group does make it considerably easier. Or the other option is to just really have your stuff together. If you're planning on soloing it. If you have a companion, it's my recommendation you bring your companion. That is, after all, the whole point of the companion system is to allow you to run certain content that you otherwise may not be able to on your own. Alright, so I was thinking Darkshade 1. Darkshade 1 has a boss over there, a mini boss encounter. So, not the case in this one. Alright, so we're going to try and pull these guys, and not the big ones. Why isn't my staff working? Hey, we got one of the big fellas. Alright. I guess we're doing this now. Alright, let's just pull it off. Come on. Come on. Here we go. How y'all like that? Get out of there. I'm gonna get stuck. Alright. Got rid of a good amount of that. Oh. So I do believe this is actually considered a mini boss because of the number of waves of mobs that there are. Pretty good amount of trash here. And if you're not ready for it, it can be a problem. Yeah, alright. So, yeah. So this is indeed considered a mini boss. It's not exactly a boss, but it's a pretty nasty situation to be in either way. You want to stay by the river's edge. It's probably the best place to pull this from. So back here, and pull the first group. Since there are Centurions, clearly, and packs of ads that attack. As the fight goes on, the next pack comes, and then the next. I personally don't have too much of an issue. Sorry, excuse me. I personally don't have too much of an issue when it comes to sustaining damage, and I've been through this dungeon several times, but if I were new to it, I wouldn't pull quite so much at once. If you don't kill everything fast enough, you're going to end up with all the Centurions and all the ads, and the Centurions hit like a Mack truck, which is highly inconvenient, makes things quite difficult. There's not really a great strategy other than to just burn it down with AoE. And that's essentially it. So, alright. This would be where the final boss in Darkshade 1 was at, but it's not in this one. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next room, which is where, what the heck? Alright. This, hey, there's a journal there. I wonder if I've read that book. That's not what I was after. There it is. Alright. Anyhow, this is where we run into the Engine Guardian. So, this particular fight can be fairly intense. Just make sure you're paying attention. There's a couple of different phases, like this one. Did he really? Yeah, alright, he made it in. Good deal. Overall, it's not a terrible fight. Or it's not terribly hard. You just try to avoid what he's got going on. As you can see, a few things going on here. You got a few trash mobs. You've got the boss who fires flame at you, changes directions, which is infinitely annoying. And there is, if we end up seeing it, yep. Alright, there is a poison aspect to this, which is not too awful, but it's not fun either. Big thing is just burn him down. I personally, like, if it becomes overwhelming, You don't have to ignore the trash. I personally do, just because it's a distraction. And I'd rather just burn the boss and get it over with. And there is a way to end the poison. It's right here. The levers will activate. I missed it. That's annoying. Come on. Alright, there we go. Okay. Alright, so this gets kind of weird. I don't really think anything's going on here. I think what more than anything, it's just some kind of animation that you get to see. Alright, so the Engine Guardian has 3 phases. It has a fire phase, a poison phase, and a lightning phase, which I don't believe I remember seeing during that particular encounter. The red phase, the boss throws fireballs from players to forms ground AoEs. In melee range, the boss essentially has a rotating flamethrower. Range is key if you cannot sustain the damage. It's probably a good idea for everyone to just stay around the middle and damage the boss from a distance. No need to actually aggro this boss, because you can't. He just walks around. Best practice is to just stay out of the way of the ground AoE and try to stay close to your healer. The green phase is poison, which will cause poison damage to tick on all the players. You can't avoid it. I don't know if you noticed, I was using my shield to mitigate it. Like that. That way the shield would take the damage instead of the health, or instead of my health bar. There are 4 levers in the middle, as I mentioned. And there are these. I'll run over here and show you real quick. So if you flip all 4 of these levers, then it will end the poison phase. So if the boss makes it to the white phase, which is the lightning phase, there's a pretty good amount of damage if you're close to the boss. So you want to stay away from it, as in all other phases. If you're fighting for the middle, as I suggested, it's not really an issue. If you have been melee range of the boss, this is probably the time that you would want to get out of the way. That way you don't end up experiencing player death. And then you have 3 dwarven spheres, if I can speak correctly. You have 3 dwarven spheres that spawn throughout the fight. They have range attacks, which can deal a moderate amount of damage. Just if you're having trouble pulling them in, you can use line of sight, which would be, let's see here. All right, so line of sight would be attack and then move where they can't see you, and what will happen is the enemy will actually come around where it can see you and start attacking again. The tank should aggro the mobs, and then the team should AoE the mobs once they're close enough. If that doesn't happen, just focus them down one at a time. As soon as the mobs are dead, DPS the boss again. Now, like I said, I personally don't pay too much attention to it, but again, it's not a boast or anything. It's just once you get to a certain level, and you get your character tuned in correctly, it's not going to matter so much, unless you're running in a group, and in that case, you should probably burn down the ads. But anyhow, that has been Darkshade Caverns 2. If you do have a stamina character, then my suggestion is run this, get Strength of the Automaton. It is a good set to have, and can easily be farmed in here, especially if you have a guildmate, somebody you play with on a regular basis that will run the dungeon with you. Anyhow, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more content like this, more informative content like this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. Yes, it does help the channel. I'll be honest with you about that. I'd be lying if I said anything different. But Spy and myself are not here for that. We are here to help out players who need this information, which includes new players that have never played before, and honestly, even some players that have been playing for a little while, because this is a game, ESO is a game where you can play in several different play styles and never experience certain parts of the content. So when you do decide, if and when you do decide to experience, start running dungeons or what have you, you need to, it's good to have the information somewhere as a reference. So liking and sharing the video helps boost the video up and get that information out to the players who need it, and that's what we're here for. This community, Spy Gaming, is the community that is honestly focused on the players of the games that we cover. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video, Darkshade Caverns 2. Stay tuned, there will be more of these coming, as well as arenas and as much other informational content as we can fit, as makes sense to fit into video format. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is Jack, and I will see you guys in the next video.